All right, I'll have a great video for y'all today. This is a new podcast that I'm recording. This is episode 2, and it's basically me hanging out in my Discord server doing like a sort of coast-to-coast style show, right? A digital call-in show, if you will. So people in the Discord come up on a virtual stage. They raise their hand. I choose them. They come up. They ask a question or make a comment, something, right? And then me and the panel that I've chosen up there, made up of other vetters, respond, and we just hang out and talk. It's very open mic style, just kind of hanging out, and it's a great conversation. So many great points are brought up. I highly recommend listening to this, and it's something I do every Friday in our Discord recording. So 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you want to come in and ask questions or be a part of the podcast, link is in the description. It's free to join the Discord. Again, every Friday, 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, we record a podcast. So feel free to join us on the next one. Until then, enjoy the show. I like to imagine what aliens are doing. So what if, ET life, extraterrestrials, non-human, whatever we're calling them, what if they have disclosure issues on their home planet? Like they don't know about humans, right? If they're the ones visiting us, right? Like, let's say it's just one specific planet or multiple species. What if are they hidden from each other too, right? Like, does that make sense? Like, yeah. What else is going? Are we the only, cover up in the universe of life? Does it make sense? Like what I'm asking? You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, that's interesting to me, and how that could look on their side. And does that affect our disclosure? I kind of just thought of that right now. Like, how would that affect our disclosure if they're dealing with something like that? So I don't know. What do you guys think? Anyone have?
Do you want to go, Dan?
What do you think?
I mean, you can go ahead.
Go ahead. Cool. I have a thought about this because I remember the last time that was brought up when you brought it up, Patrick, on the video that you did. So there is something interesting about this. If there is a civilization that has been kept from the truth that there are other species just like we are, we're kept in the dark for 70 plus years right now, almost going towards 80. There's a question I have about this. It's actually kind of an argument, maybe, on codes. If it has to be, if that civilization and how much it is, how well traversed they are in the universe. Like what I try to mean is, in the phase that we are right now, we can't go into other planets. We're unable to go to other planets. We don't have the technology to colonize other planets. So are we talking about the civilization like us, like a civilization that doesn't have the capacity or the technological advancement to colonize other planets? Or are we talking about a civilization that the broader public, like the public, does that make sense? The majority of the people there know that their government has the ability to go to other planets, because if they know that their government has the ability to go anywhere in the universe, I think that narrows down the possibility that they think they're the only species. They're probably going to have these discussions. Their discussions that they have in their own planet are way more advanced than us, because they're probably going to be very easy at the fact and at ease, because they're going to think that, so now we have the capability to colonize the universe. So that would mean that the probability goes very low that we don't encounter another species. I think they're going to think about that. This is going to be something that they're pretty sure of. But yet again, if they are like us, then we have other questions, because when you don't have the technology to see it with your own eyes, when you know that your government doesn't know how to go to other planets at that point of time, then you don't think a lot about other civilizations. That's my opinion about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. No, you're thinking it through. Daniel, you got a quick comment? Khan took up a lot of your time. So
Yeah, I geez, Con.
I'm just saying.
I
I'm
want
just
that.
saying.
I'm sorry.
I'm
sorry.
You got 3 seconds. You got 3 seconds, bro.
Yeah,
Go.
yeah. I don't know if I even understood the question, to be honest, but like,
I love it.
no, but it kind of makes me think of like, this is what I took from it, I guess, is that there's these two prospects that one, it's everyone else has figured it out and they're just waiting for us to. That seems way less likely. It's a bigger stretch for me to believe that than we're all in our own individual stages of discovery here. If there are multiple trillions of expressions of sentient life out there, and it stands to reason that would be at just various different stages of discovering ourselves and one another. It kind of also makes me wonder about this thing, which might be slightly related but slightly different in that, what if, like, we always assume that these advanced races out there, if one day we are to encounter them, that they will be so far in advance to us that it would be kind of like, if a lion could speak English, you wouldn't understand him anyway. That kind of difference in, evolution. What if it is that just like we discover another species just like us that is literally like 12 weeks older than us? Like literally no more than that, and we're kind of at very similar levels of evolution, and just, we're both like not even a type 1, well, we're just emerging into type 1 civilizations, and
That makes sense.
It's kind of like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
wouldn't it? How funny would it be if we encountered another alien species like tomorrow, and they were like a year older than us? And
Well,
it was like, wow, we got really ripped off. We didn't even discover the more advanced one.
Yeah.
But that would be funny.
Hey, and that happens. And I agree. And I think there's all kinds right along the way. So all good points, guys. Shout out to Khan and Daniel for giving their points here. Mine was better, but I just want to say that let's bring up the first vetter.
Android, yeah.
Who's first? I don't know. Is it in?
Leanne had a hand up first, I think, or there's Reckless and Android is there, or
Android, yeah.
Android. Okay. How do I do this?
I will do it, Pat. I will do it.
Okay.
Pat. No worries.
I
think I did it.
All right.
Yes, I did.
What's up, Android? What's your question, brother? You're live on Vetted. I got to say that every time, guys, because that's going to be fun. That's my catch. Okay. What's up, man? How you doing, brother?
Doing pretty good. How you guys doing?
Great.
What's up, brother?
So my question is, how do you think that they're studying us, these alien species, or wherever they're from, another dimension or wherever? Do you think they're studying us? Do you think that they've been given orders by someone else, their superiors, whoever leads them, right? Their president or whoever their leader is. They've been sent here to research us and study us, and that's why they don't just land on what they call the White House lawn and just introduce themselves, because they're just here to study us. They don't want to interfere, and just making sure to gather all their information without interfering or messing up with our evolution.
Yeah, I think that's probably, if that is happening, that makes sense that they would study us. And there's so many experiencer stories that involve that dynamic of the story, right? So, I mean, on its face, I think that makes the most sense. Now, what does it look like? Have they made mistakes because they're not supposed to interfere? But I also think, right, with if there are all of these different species that have interacted here, that they all agree on the same agenda, they all have the same research protocol. You know what I mean? Like, what are they working together? Yeah. Is the way that they're they're different species, but maybe they interact like different races on Earth do, right? So maybe they're all from the same planet. Like, what if? Does that make sense? Why do we assume every alien planet is just filled with those aliens? If they start traveling galactically, it starts to make sense that these planets will become, right, a mixture of people from all over, right? So maybe we need to start thinking about alien species. We need to start categorizing them differently. I'm just spitballing this right now. Like, I'm literally just thinking of this, but maybe we start categorizing them of like where they're from more than anything. Right? Does that make sense? Like that, because that's how we designate it here, right? Where are you from? We want to know where you're from, not necessarily your race entirely, because different races are all over. So maybe it's like planet B and planet C, and if they're different dimensions or whatever. You know what I mean? I don't know. Am I making sense here? Daniel, save me.
Yeah.
Somebody save me.
Yeah. So there is something pretty interesting in what you're saying, Pat. And also an Android's point is we had a discussion a few days here in the open mic. By the way, guys, if you don't have subscribed yet, please come to the Discord. Our open mics are almost every single day. It's awesome. And I just wanted to say, we had a discussion about this, and it's, what if the aliens, more based on Android's point, what if the aliens are just like, are here for research purposes, just like our photographers going to savannah and actually like recording a lion eating a gazelle, and they don't interfere at all? What if what they're trying to do here is just research our ways, our habits, how we react, what our daily lives are, and not interfere in the natural evolution process?
Yeah, but that person watching the lion, attack the gazelle doesn't interfere. And if they did, it wouldn't interrupt the lion's evolutionary process or the gazelle, right? Would it? It's more like, are they taking pictures for their own version of National Geographic? Are humans on the cover of their National Geographic? You know what I mean? That would be hilarious.
Oh, that's interesting. That's fun. That's fascinating.
It could alter their, like, if we're going to a completely foreign planet in this scenario, then just the mere arrival of us could alter their evolution. It depends on their comprehension of us. Also, what diseases could we potentially introduce to them that could like directly kill them off?
Exactly.
Well, that's true. But that's not that's not stopping the lion from eating the gazelle interruption. See, you know what I mean? I agree with what you're saying, but just based on that example. So maybe they could interrupt for a moment, like to save you from something, like, you know what I mean? But not like a direct interruption, like you're talking. That's a viral introduction into their species, right? That affects everybody. Maybe they could interrupt or interject just for a moment between, whatever. They like one human, so they save it from one particular thing, or they do heal one human, but it's not like they're out healing everything. So that's why you only hear sparse stories and kind of all. Does that make sense? It's not like just it's like, why don't they stop wars? Why don't it's like, well, maybe they do stop little bitty events, but like Daniel's kind of implying, you could interrupt a lot more if you kind of came full force and, you know what I mean, stopped everything, right? So you kind of interjecting a little bit here and there. I don't know, like acupuncture. It's like, It's like,
I guess it depends on if preservation of this society that you've discovered is of paramount importance to you, then obviously these will be high priority. But like, if you're really just there to plunder the planet as a resource, I don't really know if those things matter so much.
No,
like intervention doesn't necessarily matter. Like, why would you intervene in their own downfall?
Sure. No, and a lot of it's subjective and it could change. But look, we got to move on. I know it's like we could keep talking about, but that's what we want. We always want more there. So look, Andrew, before you go, any last comments before we drop you down on this? You can button it up here.
Yeah, I would just add on to your question about the lion scenario. That just interfering with one lion killing a gazette wouldn't hurt its evolution if it was just one. But if we came in there and said, nope, lions can't kill any more gazettes, it would interfere with their evolution. They would die off probably.
Yeah, great point. Exactly. That's kind of my point too. So I think we all agree there. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, 100%. So. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, and again, that could explain why sightings and experiences are so kind of sparse. Does that make sense? Because it's that kind of scenario, right? They're just
Right.
they're trying to help one gazelle, not make a rule that you can't hunt gazelles anymore. Because I agree. So anyway, all right. Thank you, Android. Great question. Great discussion, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks.
Appreciate you, brother.
All right, Con. I'm gonna rely on you to drop people down and bring them up. Who's next?
Of course, yeah.
I'm having a blast. Thank you guys to everyone for listening. Remember, if you got a question, put your hand up. We'll bring you up. I'll make fun of you real quick, and then we'll drop you down.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding.
So let's put Reckless on the stage.
Yeah, let's get it, baby.
So,
All right,
Daniel
Reckless.
Yeah.
How's it going, man? What's your question? You're live on Vetted.
Long time listener, first time caller.
Yeah.
No, I've got. I got a question for you that Danny Jones actually asked Jesse Michaels on his recent one, and I thought it was interesting, and I wanted to see what your guys' take on it was. But he had asked him what his theory was or what his thoughts were about the NHIs and what they could possibly be, but in the darkest form.
Oh yeah.
Something that
I remember
would scare
that.
him, or basically something that frightened him, or and he wouldn't really go into it and talk about it. But I was interested to see what you guys thought, like what could be the worst case scenario, or what's the darkest thing that these NHI could possibly be.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Jesse Michaels went on Danny Jones, and Danny did ask him what's the darkest scenario, and Jesse wouldn't say. He said he would tell him off air, but he didn't want to say it there. And I thought that was interesting because I've heard a lot of dark stuff be said on podcasts. So I don't know if it's just Jesse doesn't like talking about it, or he knows it's something that hasn't been brought up before. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? Yeah. So it could could be a theory that's out there that we've all heard, but he just is uncomfortable saying it himself, right? Talking about it. So I don't know, but yeah, I mean, I honestly, that's a tough one. I don't want to get too dark in here with that. It is a good question. Let's just see let's just see what happens. You know what I mean? Let's just see what people say here. So I'll let Connor or Daniel throw something out. I don't know. Do you have anything? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, well, there is one. There are worse theories. Like they're very dark that I'm not gonna say because I want to keep like the climate pretty friendly here. But there is one that I think it's kind of.
We're doing the same thing Jesse did. And see, now I understand why. Because it's like, man, do we really want to go there?
Yeah, I get that. But there is a theory.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, that's more the conversation to have right now. Is not to throw out the different theories. It's why is it difficult to talk about? Right? Why did Jesse give that answer? He gave the answer because, like, we're finding out right now in real time. It's like I feel the hair on the back of my neck standing up. Like, oh man, I don't want to be talking about, whatever, some crazy stuff that you know what I mean. Even though, they're theories, but it's like, okay, is that like dark theories about the UAP and maybe what they're doing or what they could be or who they actually are, right? Like dark stuff, right? Like I get why people don't want to just bring that up on a podcast, and it's more for like, and even sitting around, it's a little uncomfortable, right? Because you just don't want to like, is the idea of putting those thoughts in people's heads worth it, right? Can people handle those kind of ideas? I think let's keep the conversation there. Instead of talking about the different theories, let's just talk about that. Like, why is it scary to talk about?
It's because it is bundled up into a pile of ontological shock. People are thinking the worst things. Like they're thinking that the reason, so let's say that those beings are completely nefarious. They're full of ill intent. The mind can go into many, many theories. They can go to the theory that Bob Lazar suggested, that we are containers of souls, and our souls are being manipulated by them for some nefarious reason, or they want to collect our souls. Some people can say and go with the reptilian theory that I think a lot of you here and a lot of people on the internet know, the anecdotal theory that's been out there for 20 years, that the reptilians, when we die, they collect our soul and they recycle it for their own gain, for their own energy, for their own usage. The other thing that Jesse may not want it to go into, because it's really sensitive, it's maybe touches on religion. A lot of people are very sensitive about religion, and maybe that he thought that that could be something nefarious. Like, if people, like, let's say hypothetically, of course, it doesn't have any substantial and credible evidence, but let's say hypothetically that the NHI were completely related with our, like, with the Christian religion, with Jesus, like, that would rub a lot of people the wrong way. That would actually scare some people that are very religious.
Yeah.
So
yeah, just
yeah,
talk about it then.
No, he doesn't talk about it. They go into something else, and
like,
he avoids it.
But my thing is, like, is that the answer? Like, well, it's a bit scary. We're not adult enough, so we shouldn't ever talk about it. Because to be like, that seems dumb as well.
Yeah.
Well,
and also,
not that we can't talk about it. It's that, do you talk about it on a big podcast? Or he's not saying he's not saying he doesn't talk about it. He's just saying, privately he's having these conversations or whatever, right? Like, if they were sitting having beers, he would tell them.
I'll be honest. It took me up until just a couple of seconds ago to even figure out what we were talking about. Like, this is what is. I feel like it's been unnecessarily obscured.
Yeah.
Could we not even?
Interesting. Yeah.
Wow. You were lost for 10 minutes. I love it. Danielson.
Right until just a second ago. Yeah. And I'm still kind of not sure if I'm found. But yeah.
So
the whole reason.
Go ahead, Reckless. What you got?
The whole reason I had asked is because I started to notice a few things, and I think you've talked about it before, but like with the case of Tom DeLonge and Tucker Carlson, it's like they were all big into this, and then they seem to find something out that really, really spooked them, and it's like they're not at the forefront of it anymore. And I was just curious,
No, that's fair. And maybe it is something like that's physical. It's something provable. It's something. I mean, I don't know, but yeah, I hear your point. All right, Daniel, you make the final point here, and then we're gonna move.
Yeah, sorry, it's very quick. My more cynical option is that it's just theater. Like, that is like just in lieu of saying something, kind of shocking, you just don't say it, and then that's in itself kind of shocking. So, like, I don't know. Maybe it could be that too. And
again, Jesse wasn't implying that he knows the truth, and so he's not revealing what the dark truth is. He was just, they were theories, right? What does he think it could be? And some of his theories were dark, whatever. So anyway, all right. Yeah. Hey, thank you, Reckless. Great question to ask, man.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks.
All right. Does anyone else put your hand up? Oh, we don't have anybody else? What the hell? What's going on here, guys? Come on. Get brave. Put a hand up. We got Outlaw. There we go. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, go Outlaw. I'm bringing you up, buddy. There you go.
Outlaw, you're live on Vetted. What's your question, brother? Good to see you.
Hey, guys. It was something that I was mentioned earlier in the chat, and it's the possibility of technology being up to our level, almost up to our level anyway, in our past. I'm not sure if I can pronounce this correctly. Mohenjo-Daro was a place in, like, today's Pakistan, maybe around India. There was evidence found, supposedly anyway, from what I'm finding on the internet, that people were pretty much just killed instantly, like they were hit by an atomic bomb. It wasn't like lava or anything like that. I don't know if you guys heard of anything like that.
They were hit by what? Like a UFO?
I'm saying a nuclear weapon. I mean, that it's even recorded, right, in like the Hindu text on those. I don't know enough about Hindu on that.
How long do you think this event occurred? Like, how long ago do you think it occurred?
That I don't know. That would have been back in.
Like, are we talking thousands of years? Are we talking 10 years? What are we talking about?
We're talking thousands.
Got it. Okay, so that's interesting. And you think or you're saying there's evidence that shows that maybe there was something like that that killed people instantly back then, and basically you're asking, how is that possible?
Right. And they were able to supposedly, again, determine that the sand was turned to glass, and everything was like, yeah, it looks like an atomic weapon was
used,
detonated at that point.
What did you call it again? What was the name of this?
See, Mohenjo-Daro. I can put it in the.
Yeah, I feel like I've vaguely heard of this.
Mohenjo-Daro. We need.
Yeah.
What's the?
That's an interesting name.
Con, you're good with accents. What's the good way to pronounce that?
And that's supposedly, I think that's in today's Pakistan.
Got it. Okay. Oh, present day Pakistan. Oh, that's interesting.
Sir.
I mean, there's a lot of interesting events from back then. I don't know if I've heard of anything like that. What do you think would be speculating, like the cause of something like that? Like they were attacking these people, you think, or a ship was taking off and it used that kind of energy around them, or what are the theories out there?
Yeah, to me it could be that they actually had the technology that we, for that back then, or it could have been,
I see,
extraterrestrial. You know what I mean?
I see. Oh, that's even cooler. Okay, so it's two scenarios here. It could be just humans we already were advanced back then, and had a catastrophic event, right, go off, or maybe it was purposeful. Whatever it was, these were human made. We were more advanced back then, or like you said, some sort of ET involvement. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I like that advanced human civilization. Con, Daniel, what do you guys think? Have you guys heard of this? Mohenjo-Daro?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't recognize it by name, but I've vaguely heard something like this. And it I heard it in the context of that, there was a past a human civilization that was here, and, we wiped ourselves out in such a means. But like, when I brought this up with like people that I consider to be smarter than me, they always argue with me, and they'd be like, no, we've basically proven that in the genealogical record that there's no evidence that we've gone back that far. And I'm like, yeah, have we really proven that though? I'm not smart enough to actually know one way or another. I kind of feel like, I want to believe that we were here in the past. I have this intuition that we've been here a lot longer.
Sure.
I can't speak any more details to that actual theory though. I find it interesting. I like it. I don't know if I can add more than that though.
I like it. Con, what do you think, man? You heard of any of this? You heard of Mohenjo-Daro?
I've not heard about this, but I heard of something that I think it would be like sufficient, like very interesting information to what Outlaw is saying. I've read that we can detect radiation signatures after decades on specific sites that the nuclear fission bomb has went off. So that is really interesting from the fact that how long ago does our technology reach that we can detect if a nuclear fusion went off there? Like, what is the limit? Does that make sense? So specifically right now, we have the technology to see if gamma radiation, beta radiation from nuclear blasts they are still like radioactive at the specific sites that the bomb went off. Specifically in the Trinity test till today, you can find like huge radiation spikes there. So we do have that technology to actually like search that. So I wonder if the specific like location that Outlaw is describing, if it has been searched for radiation signatures.
Well, I guess it depends on what isotopes and stuff. Like it's
Outlaw. You heard anything about that though? Have you heard of any?
Yeah, actually, the Irish Tangler posted into the chat about it said a layer of exceptionally radioactive cinder was found close to, and I can't pronounce the name, Jodhpur, whatever. And that's north of the Mohenjo-Daro.
Okay.
So they actually did find radioactive.
Something
It was
there.
radioactive. Yeah.
Could that be natural? Are there natural occurrences of radioactivity like that?
Sure. There is.
I mean, it's interesting.
They did examine it.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. I find the theory fascinating, and I like it. I like to think that there were different, whether it's the same, whether we're the same race, right? Like it's just us, but we were more advanced back then. It went away, and we came back. I don't know, but either way, you would think that there would also be evidence of other inventions that got them there. Does that make sense? It's not like you just invent nuclear capabilities. So wouldn't there be a process to get there, like us, right? Like that we build on the back of giants, right? So clearly there's all this innovation that happens before we ever get to, right, this nuclear revolution, right? So wouldn't there be evidence of some of those things around too? I don't know.
I guess the presumption is, and this is probably a stretch in my mind, but that the resurfacing event, it was so powerful that it literally resurfaced and destroyed all of that evidence.
Just everything.
But I feel like that's a little bit too neat of an explanation. So
yeah, agreed.
I mean, it's interesting.
So I gotta say to what Outlaw is saying, I have some information of that anecdotally because I know I said this 100 times here on the chat and open mics. I'm a huge fan of Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
I honestly love him.
Sing that song that you wrote about him. Remember that song? Go ahead. Can you sing that for us?
And I honestly, just the top of my mind right now, I'm just reminding myself of American Prometheus. He was saying something about radionuclides. That's how they're pronounced, I think, if I remember correctly. But to what Outlaw said, there are some like naturally radioactive elements that can cause like radiation, but most of them, the majority, just FYI, just everybody knows, they have to be manufactured. The majority of them.
Yeah.
So, like, if I remember correctly, like minerals that Oppenheimer was describing, like pitch bleed and monazite, something like that. They are like those two minerals are actually radioactive elements, and also like you can argue the cosmic radiation theory that high energy particles from space can collide with our atmosphere, but then again, does that mean that the nuclear bomb went off? No, of course not. Cosmic radiation is something different than
Wasn't there glass spherules and stuff though? Didn't I hear something about that? Wasn't there indications of a rapidly forming, like heat thing? Maybe I'm injecting details that weren't.
No, you're actually right. I mean, in fact, the Irish Tangler posted again in chat some good stuff here. That they found that let's see, all articles are found to have been intertwined and classified. Rocks had been dissolved by temperatures around 1500 degrees Celsius and transferred into glass-like substance.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Are we just gonna ignore how casually we just say the Irish Tangler showed me? I love it. I love that name.
I just bypassed that.
She's the one that keeps posting the good stuff up here.
No, I know, but it just sounds funny. That's the thing with online names, right? Like it's just funny. Like it's I just find it humorous. No, it's a great name. No, absolutely. What a great conversation, Outlaw. We're gonna drop you down. Any last comments about this, man? Because this was. This is interesting to think about. I want to start covering more. I've said that before. More advanced. I like questions like this. More advanced civilizations from the past. Human, right? I like it.
Right. Yeah. No. I don't have any other comments. Thank you for talking to me about this.
Oh, absolutely, man. Anytime. Thank you so
much, man.
Thank you, Outlaw. All right. Anyone else in the audience, please feel free to put up your hand. Come on up.
Kazimov is up.
Kazimov,
hey, fellas.
You're on live with Vetted.
Hey,
what's up, brother?
Something I had posted in the main chat earlier this week was a story I had heard about. God, it had to be in the early aughts, and I couldn't find the original website, but I did find a news story from 2017, and it talks about how Iapetus is a very unusual satellite of Saturn. And I remember on this this old wacky conspiracy site I was on that they had a lot of valid points, and so the story has always stuck with me. And like I said, I couldn't find the original site from a search, but this gives you the gist of it. And I remember in the original website they had like zoomed in on a bunch of satellite photos of craters and stuff like that, and pointed out how there were a lot of straight edges to the craters, which doesn't really make total sense.
This is on Saturn, you're saying?
A moon of Saturn.
A moon of Saturn. Got it.
And there's like all these different statistics about this particular moon that makes it stand out from other moons in that system and in the solar system in general. I just thought it was a fascinating topic because one of the things they were saying was that the shapes of the craters that they were pointing out, a lot of them were pentagons and hexagons. And they were saying if you were using a megastructure using like a carbon fiber build, that the strongest structure that you would get from that sort of thing would be like a massive buckyball.
I see. Yeah.
I just want to describe
oh, that's
for anyone who's
interesting.
only listening. For anyone who's only listening, I'm looking at this image right now of this moon that he's talking about, and it looks like there is a perfect seam around the exact equator of the moon.
Yeah,
it kind of looks like a Death
the
Star.
walnut.
Wow. It's actually it's crazy
like it's put together from two pieces.
And fun fact, when they were making 2001: A Space Odyssey, Arthur C. Clarke originally had the monolith on Mimas. I mean, not Mimas, but on Iapetus in around Saturn. But because when they were making the movie at the same time he was writing the book, they said, making Saturn for the big screen is going to be a pain in the ass. Can we change it to Jupiter? They said, sure. And so they switched the story for it to be set in Jupiter. But the original story was that there was a monolith in that massive crater on Iapetus. So
interesting.
That's fascinating.
That's definitely fascinating.
I don't know where I'm going with it. I just think it's an interesting story.
Well, let's be real. There has to be, there's all these big rocks, i.e., planets, okay, like floating around space in the universe so bad. There has to be just some structures like that have been left behind or are in use or something. Absolutely. So why is the possibility that one is in our own solar system like that, right? And I more want to jump to speculating what would it be? Like, what is the monolith in 2001?
Well,
what does it do?
Yeah. In 2010, they posited the idea that it was a shape for a concept that doesn't have a shape, like evolution or whatever.
Okay.
It's just one of those weird higher dimensional tools, I would suspect.
I remember reading something about like the technological implications of it. So it was like you had the monkeys seeing something in their, or primate cavemen or whatever they were, right? Seeing something in their environment that was technological and like irrefutably technological.
Right.
You weren't going to mistake it for a natural structure. And that was like that's what he was looking for. But I remember something too about thoughts or something, like it read thoughts, or I don't know. I could be wrong here.
Yeah, it was meant to basically inspire greater thinking. So like the stoned ape theory, instead of eating mushrooms and us getting wild ideas, it's like they ran into this monolith that stimulated that part of our brain, much like running into a UAP might stimulate part of your brain, and you start seeing this shit everywhere.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's
interesting.
That's an interesting thread. What do you think, Con? I feel like you're raring I feel like you Googled something and you're ready.
No, it just I wanted to bring something up, something that I found really funny. There is a new interview right now as we make this recording. There's a new interview with Elon and Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
And in the first 5 minutes, Elon's is actually poo-pooing on the theory that we have about the squared structure on Mars. He's very sarcastic about it and he makes fun of it. So I found that that's something that I should bring up to that specific discussion that we make right now, because it's really related, because he said he doesn't believe that the square structure on Mars is at all alien related. He thinks it's a natural occurring thing. He says specifically that we have these structures here on Earth as well.
And that very well could be, but that doesn't eliminate the idea that it's not possible, in my opinion. Like, I think that's
until we get an archaeologist there looking, we're not going to know.
Of course,
absolutely, hands-on, right? No, it is interesting what Elon said, and I'm making a video. I already actually clipped it out because I went as soon as I saw it dropped, and he talks about UAP, and people aren't going to be happy, but of
course, of course, because,
but
who is happy with anything he says?
Yeah.
I
I remember when Elon first went on Joe Rogan, and that was such a I was so excited for it because I've been watching Joe Rogan a long time, and I remember just oh, this is gonna be he's such an interesting guy. He was just a different person back then, quite literally a different person. Yeah. He was real timid, nervous, anxious, and that was what was interesting about him, right? That he was so powerful and rich, but he was also kind of vulnerable, and all that's gone away. He is very confident and just out there now. And I'm not saying it's bad one way or the other. I'm not trying to start an argument. I'm just saying he's definitely different. You know what I mean? When he tried weed and you know what I mean? It was just a different Elon back then. I found him more charming back then. I don't find him as charming.
I definitely missed the Tony Stark version of Elon Musk.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I was an Elon fanboy for a long time, and then he just turned into this whatever. Anyway.
No,
I'm not a fanboy anymore.
I'm
not a fanboy anymore.
He's definitely changed, for sure, right? At minimum.
He must have been replaced by reptilians or some shit. I
don't know. He does say in the Rogan interview he's an alien. They have this funny bit where he's like, "I'm an alien." They go through it for a minute. That was kind of funny, but no, Kazimov, great discussion, man. Great thing to bring up, and awesome, man. Thank you so much for coming up, brother. Really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me. We'll talk at you next time.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you, brother.
Absolutely. Con, you drop him down. And again, guys, anybody that wants to come up, just put your hand up. We'll bring you up. We'll talk. We'll chat. Let us know if you have a question, you have a comment, you want to tell Daniel off like you've always wanted. Now's the time. Okay. Come at me, bro.
Yeah.
Come at
me, bro.
I love it. That's your Nancy Mace impression.
Come on, guys. Raise your hand. Yeah. Oh, we have Nick here. Nick, why did you come up on the stage, brother?
Anybody? Yeah, Nick. That's one song.
No pressure.
No pressure. Lots of pressure. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm going to invite him.
No, it's been. It's see, there we go. Get him up there. What's up, Does Want Some? You're live on Vetted.
Oh, no. I'm scared.
I
don't really have a question. I feel like I've been dragged up here.
You were.
Yes, I did that. I did that. Yeah, I did that.
Yeah. No, that's completely fine. That's completely fine. I suppose going off the back of the last question that was asked and talking about Elon Musk, well, he is going to be the next Elon of Mars, isn't he?
Yeah.
If you remember the discussion we had not that long ago.
But that
the
book
theory
or something?
That, Werner von Braun wrote a book, and basically he said he was going to be the first leader of Mars is going to be known as the Elon of Mars. So I'll leave you with that conspiracy theory, and I'll go back down into the audience. Thanks very much.
I mean, that is crazy, right? That whole line. And, again, you've got that whole Tim Taylor connection with Elon, and that's all I want someone to ask Elon. Like if Joe knew that kind of stuff, he could ask Elon there in that moment, because he doesn't really push on Elon too much. I get it. They're friends. He's not trying to, you know what I mean, come at him with, you're lying. You must be lying. You're covering up the truth. And it's like, what are you going to do? But it would be interesting. I mean, I think that's a fair question. Well, you work with this guy, Tim Taylor. This is what he does. I don't know.
I mean,
he may not
if
care.
They are friends.
He may not care. Like Elon would just be like, well, if that's what that guy does, that's what that guy does. I don't care. His work's good. I don't know. Right.
That's a great point. But then again, this is what I try to say. If they are friends, like I would actually push him on that. Because I do that. If you're a really good friend of somebody, you can do that. Sure. You would ask him like, why are you so cagey about answering UAP questions?
But he might ask privately, not on.
Of course, of course, yeah, of course. But personally, if I was Joe, I would ask him plainly, like, dude, why are you neglecting like trained observers that have seen these craft flying anti-gravitically with propulsion that your rockets don't have? Why are you neglecting that?
He tried to ask him that, actually, like they were in the discussion, and he's like, well, what about, Ryan Graves and David and Elon kind of, he was in the middle of saying something when he asked him, you know what I mean? So like, but he kept going on his point, and he was basically just saying like, I work with these aerospace companies. I know what they have. They don't have, like, they're not, he's like, I don't believe they're hiding this kind of stuff from me. He's like, look, I do 90% of the rockets globally out to space. That's what he said. 5% China, and then 5%,
SpaceX.
Like other advanced companies. Oh. So he's saying SpaceX does 90%. Like, he's like, why wouldn't Lockheed and Northrop and all these other, why wouldn't they use that technology to get all the money for rockets and stuff? Like, why wouldn't they put me out of business? You know what I mean? It's like, he's like, that's what he was saying. He's like, it doesn't make sense why they wouldn't use the technology. Why not come out with it? Why not use it? Why not make the money off of it? Because, you know what I mean? I don't know. Again, these are just his answers, but what's crazy is when I hear Elon talk about, I don't have to like the guy or not, but I'm just saying, and I don't mind him actually at the end of the day, like entirely, but I believe what he's saying. Like, I believe that he believes what he's saying. Does that make sense? Like, I believe him. I don't think he's like lying and covering up the fact.
Yeah, but then again, Pat, that goes to the argument that Ross Coulthard made on News Nation that Elon hasn't been read. Or he has been read.
But how do random people on the internet know the truth, but Elon doesn't? The richest man in the world. Don't we always say that the richest people are in power, they know the truth, and they're running but somehow that guy,
of course,
doesn't.
Of course. So this is now this. I'm not.
Or he could be lying about it, I guess. Right. Essentially, too. Right.
I'm not. Of course, but I'm not saying that we know the truth. We basically know absolutely nothing about what Elon knows. But a respected journalist, a very, very respected journalist like Coulthard, has said that insiders are telling him that Elon has been read into something.
Do you want to be a psionic asset? Well, we've got some merch to help you with that issue. We've got a t-shirt and a mug that we're now offering. Link in the description.
I think you always bring a balanced perspective as to why to be skeptical versus why not to be in some situations. But I'm constantly struggling with the topic in this whole space where I'm having a hard time finding what I guess in the business world is called like an MVP, which is like a minimum viable product, right? And I'm always trying to figure out what is the minimum viable scenario that would push me kind of over the edge And the reason I say that is because with some of these, with some of the things that are being spoken of just so nonchalantly, it's like, oh, there's people controlling spaceships with their mind. That is very far away from what I would call like the barrier of entry into the unknown, if that makes sense. So like maybe when where are the people that can broadcast the word hello telepathically? And let's start with that before we move on to these extraordinary claims that are immense. Does that make sense? So like what would that minimum viable scenario be for you that I just haven't found yet?
No, I think that's a good question, and I've often thought about that myself because it's like, I always imagined that the first, I guess maybe just because I grew up on movies, like I always imagined the first realization that we're not alone would be kind of like, they come from another planet. They come here in a spaceship, right? They land and come out and say hello to us, and like, but instead it was like, they're interdimensional time traveling, reptilian. It was like, whoa, what the fuck? What? Like, that's where we're jumping to. I'm with you. It jumps up to like this other thing, like all of these other things. There's super soldiers 20 and back. What are we talking about? Like astral projection, remote viewing. Oh my God. Like, there's a lot here. Baby steps essentially, right, into this. I'm with you. I don't know what, I get asked a lot, Patrick, what would it take for you to believe? What piece of evidence? And I don't know if it's a cop out. It's just the truth. I don't know until I see it or hear it or whatever, right? Like I don't know till it happens if it's going to convince me or not. Does that make sense? So I can't like project, well, if I just saw the perfect video, if I just saw the perfect photo, if I just heard the perfect story, if just the right former intelligence officer testified before Congress, then I'd be convinced, right? Like, I don't know till it happens what is going to, push me over the line into that. Definitely a personal experience, but even then, it would have to be pretty clear that this is, if I saw an alien straight in front of my face, like, why can't it just be stuff like that where it's real simple, like we all see it? Why does it have to be like, well, it's about intention and love? Like, everything is so complicated. Like, there is no black and white crossing over into that line. And why can't it be? There isn't other life like us. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, we just say hello to each other. We call people up. We show up in front of people. We can see each other, right? Like, also, interact with each other.
I would argue a lot of people have the intention of wanting to see it. It just doesn't happen. I mean, I want to see it. My intention. Do I have to wear a blue jumper or like, what is the trick?
Well, let me ask you, are you right-handed or left-handed, Daniel?
I'm right-handed. So.
Okay, well,
no psychic powers for you.
Then I guess I don't need to ask the second question. Yeah.
Oh man.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
That's, I think the issue with some of the claims is I think a lot of the claims, particularly from individuals like Dr. Stephen Greer, where you can apparently just walk up to these air quotes black sites and just take tours on Tuesdays or something.
Yeah.
That's the way he talks about things. So that would be like, for me, okay, let's send 50 folks out there to check out what you're talking about. But there's 0 people. It's just, like you've said before, him telling stories or saying things. And that's where I think there needs to be, I guess accountability is the simplest way of breaking it down. To if you say something that is easily provable, by that I mean, there is a brown door on that mountain. You could go look at it, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm with you. Like, it's never obvious. Now, other people might argue and go, no, it is obvious, Patrick. We're not alone. This is how, this, that, and the other. And again, I'm excluding personal experience, right? So I've had no personal experience. So I'm trying to cross the finish line without a personal experience, right? So what does that mean? That means I have to rely on other people to provide something to me that would convince me, right? But what could bring personal experience to everybody is if they showed a craft and put it in a museum and people could go visit it and there's a whole story and there's a, you know what I mean? Like that kind of, that's probably when when it is all over the news and there's press conferences and people are studying it and all that. It's just like too big a thing to like that be fake. Because right now everything else, at least in my opinion, requires a leap of faith to believe it. Like it gets you just up to the line. Credible person telling a story. Why would they lie? They've got radar data. There's this, there's that. There's always, it's never just that easy. And the answer can't just be, well, the truth is just hard to accept, Patrick. Some people just can't accept the truth. That's not it at all. Some people just actually need to see some, what they believe to be objective evidence about it. Like at the end of the day, right? Yeah, maybe some people, quote unquote, can't handle the truth, but nobody knows the truth. So anyone proclaiming to have it all figured out or understand it all, right? Like, I don't know. I'm with you. And this is a great question, Mr. From Nowhere, which is a great name, by the way. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have any other comments to add on to this. This was a great question to ask.
No, that's it for me. I appreciate the time.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, brother.
Con, Daniel,
Thank you for coming in.
Yeah, man. Let's just kind of wrap up here. Last final thoughts, any whatever.
I mean,
what do you got?
So, yeah, I want to say something on what you said, Pat. As to close off my point of view for today's episode. But if you, like, we are a species that it's based on data.
Yeah.
The reason that we have our technological advancement is based on experiments, like repetition, doing something over and over again, failing multiple times to reach a specific degree of achievement. And when you're saying to somebody, no, the NHI are not going to come because you have to believe in them. You have to believe in the power of love. You have to attract them in that specific way. It contradicts anything that we have been sensitive to since we were kids. We were taught that you have to do, since you are a kid, you have been taught by your parents, by your peers, by your bosses, your friends, your lovers, that you have to do stuff to get a specific result in life. You have to grind for your work to achieve something that is substantial, to actually have some evidence, to actually have tangible proof about something. And when organizations, specialists, government insiders are coming out there saying that we don't actually know what these NHI are, we don't actually know what these UFOs are doing here. Some of them are exotic materials. Some of them are full craft. Some of them are not, we can't even explain their morphology. And there is and then there is that whole other section with psionics that says that you have to have a body-mind connection with something higher. But it goes so sideways to what we believe in as a species. We need proof, people. This cannot be a conversation that says you have to believe in something. No, that's fairy tale stuff. We need proof about the existence of UFOs, like real, tangible proof. I'm not saying that you should display their craft in a museum. I'm saying you need to yeah, I know that Dan would say something like that, but I'm saying that you need to give us something of the 80 years cover-up that you're doing, that the government is doing, that your tax-paying dollars are reportedly, allegedly going to. We need to see something that's not of this world, so that we have a broader spectrum, like a huge amount of people researching into this. Because right now, we honestly have 4 videos that have been approved by the Pentagon and trained observers. And to be honest, nothing much else. That's it. That's what we have.
Well, there's lots of stories and, experiences
yeah, of course.
and sightings.
I'm not expecting, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm with you. I mean, 100%. It's just a tough, look, it's a tough journey for everybody, right? And we're all on different levels of it. And
yeah,
it's just that. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just, So look, hopefully, I do want all this to be real, and not all of it, I guess I should say. There's a lot of it that I don't want to be real. Now, that doesn't mean I won't believe it if I see it. I'm just saying, I wish it wasn't real. If it turns out like abductions and things like that, that's terrifying. You know what I mean? That's not good.
Yeah.
If that kind of stuff is happening. Yep. That is not good in any way, shape, or form. I don't care how you sell it to me. Well, they're nice. They serve you, fucking 4-course dinner up there. I don't give a fuck.
Nobody wants to be probed.
Yeah, nobody wants to be taken against their will. Again, you're not asked. There's no consent. It's like, I just don't. If they started asking people and then people went voluntarily, well, that would be different. Right, yeah, but that's never been the case. In fact, I don't know if I've ever heard of a story like that where they get asked. Right? It's so anyway. Yeah, look, today was a fascinating conversation. Daniel, did you have anything to wrap up before we go, man? I'm gonna close this out. I mean, I'm just gonna end it.
No, we've wrapped it pretty well there, I think.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, guys, listen. What's up?
Sorry, I'm not giving much today.
You gave everything you had, and that's all we could ever ask for, Daniel. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
It's all we can ever ask for.
You gave us the best of yourself, of course.
You gave us the best. This is it, baby. This is what, yeah, thank you guys, everyone that showed up and came up and asked questions, and this was awesome. I loved it, and I can't wait for next week. We're going to continue to do this. And I look forward to more episodes. What a great stuff. I just like that we talk about all these different things that come up. It's very, very cool. So join us again next week, next Friday, same time, 1 p.m. and same rules. Everything will be the same. So, yeah, I'm going to wrap it out, guys. Thank y'all again so much for joining. Thank you to Con and Daniel for jumping up here. It's not easy to do this. So I just want to, huge shout out to those guys for joining me on the panel today. So that's it for what were we calling it? In I forgot, Banana Foster's podcast. What were we calling this? I forgot already.
Heavily redacted.
Heavily redacted, open mic, vetted hour. I don't know. We got a lot of cool names. So yeah, again, guys, if you have a name for the podcast, throw it in, feed something. We'll figure. I'll see it. I'm sure. So, all right, y'all. That's it.